Welcome to the YoggNation, the Spirit of Gratitude podcast on the OneIntegration platform. Hello, friends. My name is Yogesh Patel, and this podcast explores the themes of bullying, self-awareness, and the power of our inner spirit, including the silent battles we all face. Join me every week as I invite high-profile guests as we explore how adversity shapes us, how gratitude lifts us, and how we can all uncover the inner strength that we all have within ourselves. Join the conversation. I appreciate you listening in.
Today's guest is Sascha Gorokhoff, the #1 winning mindset expert who is a strong voice in the world-renowned human development research. He is the founder of Sascha Leadership, consulting visionary CEOs, and author of a very popular book, From Victim to Victory. His leadership embodies the truth that nobody is ever disabled. We are all differently abled. Very interesting way to put it. Born with the most severe form of spina bifida and told he would never walk, Sascha turned adversity into mastery. And Sascha just doesn't talk about mindset, he embodies it. His mission, ignite transformation and prove that every human being is divinely equipped to win, regardless of the odds, and he is living proof. Today, we'll learn how he has overcome adversity and get his very unique perspective on human transformation in an AI world, or is it the other way around?
Might be the other way around. We'll explore that subject.
Well, with gratitude, welcome to the podcast,
Thank you
Sascha.
for having me. I'm very, very grateful to be here with you today and with the audience.
Absolutely. My honor, my pleasure. Sascha, tell us, can you describe the condition that you have?
Yes. So basically, in medical terms, I was born with the worst form of spina bifida, and I have an Arnold-Chiari 2 syndrome and unchanted hydrocephalus. In other words, in layman's terms, I was born with a set of conditions that should have left me in a wheelchair, mentally challenged by the age of 7. Turned 47 recently, and I've done everything the medical community and so many others have said is impossible, and I went much further than that even.
So when you couldn't walk, is that a spinal condition?
So I should not have been able to walk. My legs were moving when I was born, and they said it was a reflex and it would stop. It never stopped, and they still have no explanation of how it is actually possible.
Okay.
I'm one out of hundreds and hundreds of millions, so if maybe not a medically unique case.
Wow. How is this caused?
A variety of factors at birth, with the mother and the father. Nowadays, mothers can take folic acid to try and prevent this condition, spina bifida. But at that time, when I was born, they had no idea.
Yeah.
And even then, my parents didn't know. They discovered when I was born, so they didn't do anything to check before. And I'm really grateful because I turned out the way I turned out, and I'm able to help and uplift the world.
Yes.
Been successful in every way that I wanted to be successful, and I'm turned it now around into the lessons that I have learned, not only in my life but in business, in politics. I was in politics, giving disabled people a voice back in Europe, and international organizations, and I'm packaging this up and teach people all the lessons I have learned along the way now.
When did you start to learn how to walk?
Pretty fast, pretty normally.
Really?
Actually, but I was always aware of my condition because when I was born, they closed my lower back with skin only, so there's the nerves were protruding out, and so they pushed it back in when I was born.
Outside the skin?
Yeah, outside the skin. And they closed it just with skin and said, well, good luck in life. And I have been told stories already young that I was crawling to the table, being very, very aware that my bottle was on the table, but I didn't try to climb it. I pulled down the tablecloth and caught the bottle.
Working smart and hard.
So I always had self-awareness, and that accompanied me up to today.
Amazing. And in school, were you ever bullied because of this condition that you had?
Yes, all the time. All the time. My teachers made fun of me. They said I'd never amount to anything. They wrote me off. They tried to put me in some specialized class, and I had to literally fight my way back to be
by
able
yourself,
to.
or how did that? Because again, a lot of this podcast again is how to overcome adversity, especially for the young adults and adolescents who are bullied.
So really by myself mostly. My mother had severe mental health conditions and was very unwell, to say the least.
Okay.
When I was born, she disappeared to bed for 10 years with what we now have found out later were imaginary back problems. As a narcissist, because the spotlight went from her the mother of a disabled child to the disabled child who actually pulled off all of these things he shouldn't have from a young age and continued. So she was actually very jealous. And my father, he was a good man, but he was a businessman. He could never relate to me in any way. For him, I was always a source of worry and never good enough. So that was always the stigma on him, and like he never has time. So I had to really find resources inside of myself to take what worked around me and other things to make it work for myself.
How
really.
old were you
What? At what point?
when you had to come with self-realization that it's on you?
Very young. As I said, I was gifted with some degree of self-awareness, and that accompanied me to today. I was always very self-aware of myself, of my environment, of what needed to happen.
Do you think all people have that?
I think all people can develop it,
Okay.
but not all people are necessarily immediately kind of out of the gate born with it.
Sure.
But I've also always knew that it was possible. So I never read the medical community's memo. I never read my family's memo about me. I decided that this is what I was going to do.
Right.
And I did it. So at the time, of course, 3, 4, 5 years old, I had no idea what a business is or what I would be doing today, but it would be just the next step and the next step and the next step. And it led me through really life, always having the certainty that it was possible.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Well, it wasn't ignorance, it was a choice. It was a choice
okay.
not to believe. It was never ignorant. I always knew.
Okay.
I always knew the risks.
That's
In fact, when I learned to actually go do sports, because they always said you can't do this because if you fall on your back, you could kill yourself or be in a wheelchair. And I decided, you know what, where there's a will, there is a way.
sure.
And so a simple story is when I went skiing in the Swiss Alps, I would stand on flat ground, fall left, right, forward, knowing that backwards was a bad idea. And when I had the falling down, I learned how to do the actual thing. And that's how then I went skateboarding, windsurfing, and do all kinds of other things.
Surfing.
Windsurfing, yeah.
My
I wasn't
goodness.
good at it, but I tried everything.
What's the lesson here? Again, you're just amazing in terms of your experiences and how that molded you, your character, how adversity shapes success. But for those that are perhaps struggling with a challenge, whether it's mental, physical, you name it, what would you say to them based on your outlook and your upbringing?
The lesson is there's a fine line between victim and victory. That's a couple of letters and you choose.
Okay.
Really. It is up to you to choose, whether you choose when you're young or whether you choose when you're an adult. What I've seen so in my work, also in my leadership work and mindset work, is so many adults have given up their capacity to choose for themselves. Yes, obviously, when you're young.
Is that because of what?
Because when you're young, parents make choices for you for very good reasons.
Sure.
You should probably not decide to go play next to fire or with a stove when you're young. And parents make those decisions.
I learned that lesson.
But people continue going through life
Yeah.
and blaming everybody else for what's happening to them, instead of saying, "Hey,
The victim mentality.
Exactly, but it's easier because then you never have to look into the mirror and say, "Hey, what about me? What if I made mistakes? What if I have given up control? What if I have given up my capacity?"
So it's
to
that
choose?"
self-reflection.
It's that self-reflection, and many people come up to the point where that self-reflection becomes painful at a point because there's so much stuff to unravel
Yeah.
and unpack. But it's never too late, and
It's the trauma from years or decades.
But you can overcome everything. You can overcome trauma, and so my message is really.
How are you different, though, than the rest? I mean, that's, I think, what I want to explore a little bit further.
And I've always had a can-do mindset.
Yeah.
Did I always know how? No. Did I know that it could be done? Yes.
How did you create your blueprint then?
My blueprint of life?
Yeah,
Or self-reflection. I remember very young, I was sitting in my room and I was reflecting about why was I so bullied.
Right.
And suddenly, what was wrong? At first, I looked at what was wrong with me, like every child would do. Like something must be wrong with me, otherwise they wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
And then I came to the realization. And said, no, it's a projection of them. It's I'm different, so they're projecting their misunderstandings, their in education, their kids onto me. So
Well,
I'm
not
just
even kids, but adults.
also adults. So as I always tell people, I am as disabled as I am through your eyes, because I don't consider myself disabled. But if you choose to project something on me, well, you can do this, but I can decide to not take this on.
Right.
And I can decide to not make this my way of life because you have projected something on me, or you have decided for me, quote unquote.
But is there? I guess I'm just trying to understand. If you're different, and That's great. I mean, that's what makes society and life interesting. But why is it that because you are different, you have to be bullied?
I guess that my understanding is, first of all, it's a lot about children, and children want to fit in. So they will single out the one who doesn't fit in according to classical standards or the standards that have been described.
Right.
Also, children learn a lot from their parents,
Yes.
who have learned a lot, maybe not necessarily only from the media, but from their parents, and their parenting can go on for generations until it is stopped. But for children, it's all about fitting in. So it's easier to point the fingers at the other
Right.
in order to fit in, to not be the one who's excluded. Is it right? No. But
Right.
it's from a perspective of children or teenagers. So even if those who are bold enough to stand up for those who are bullied, they choose to live with the consequences of standing out from the group. But for so many, it's easier to try and fit in than to stand out, even if it means not doing the right thing.
What about for adults?
Same thing. Really
Fitting in?
Not being singled out and not being excluded from the perception of whatever group you think that you're part of. And so if
I'm not quite sure I understand.
So it's very hard for us as humans to be singled out. Remember, I mean, if we go way back when we were cavemen and cavewomen, it was all we survived as a pack.
Yeah.
And our brains, they're still wired in many respects, they're still wired this way. So for us to be there many decades ago, a long time ago, and more than that, it was a real significant danger to our lives to be excluded, because you couldn't survive on your own. For our brain, it still signifies danger to stand on your own.
Okay.
To be singled out. And people will go, of all ages, will go to great lengths, and children don't understand it, but adults do. But they may want to choose to ignore what they know. Will go to great lengths in order to not be the one who's ostracized and be singled out and kicked out of the group. And because that is danger.
Interesting.
Whereas where certain people are made to be leaders, they don't care. They want to be standing on their own, but people who are made to be more comfortable to be followers, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
They stand in a group because they couldn't fathom to stand alone. Yet we can teach our brains to say, look, we are no longer during that time. We're in the 21st century. You're not going to die if you stand alone. You can still now you can go to the grocery.
I think that's the courage people need to hear.
You don't need to. We're not in a pack society anymore. You don't need to hunt in packs to survive. You can go to the next grocery shop and buy food on your own. But our brains are still wired and say, no, that's dangerous. Don't do that. I mean, if you see so many people for whom it is really uncomfortable to the idea of being single, because again, it's being alone, and that aloneness immediately unravels a story in your mind.
Right.
And that could be age-old since almost the beginning of us as humans. So it is easier to point at others than to actually do the work for yourself, even if you know that what you're doing it could be wrong and could be wronging somebody else. Many people are still willing to do this in order not to be singled out or to stand alone.
Powerful. That's indeed very powerful. Again, self-reflection just exudes out of your heart.
Thank you. But it is a choice, and that's what I also want to really emphasize. It is a choice. Like I made a choice not to be a victim of my environment or of the condition, but to be victorious.
Yeah. Well, that actually led to my next question. That is, you said you weren't angry at your condition, and that's a level of peace that most of us can only dream about. And the question was, what helped you flip that switch from frustration to freedom? It comes down to choice.
Yes, because also frustration, there was never any frustration. There was trying to understand why I was being made fun of. It was very clear for me since the beginning that the medical community projected that on me because they've never seen a case like me. And in many ways, even today, when I go to the doctor and a new doctor and I show them on paper what I have, they ask me if I have a brother because they don't believe it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Medically still to have that kind of set and to be thriving, to have been gone to the best school on the planet and to have done everything that I wanted to the utmost degree.
Right.
So it is a mindset, but there was never frustration. There was more reflection about understanding why are things the way they are. And so I came to the conclusion that for children, they don't have the level of maturity to understand. And for adults, I could scare them because I'm very different to
Sure.
what they're used to. They could believe the medical community's memo because they themselves, they think, well, these people are better educated. What do I know?
Right.
And for others, it is also easier to pick on the one that's different and to project all of your own frustrations on the one who's quote unquote different, because I consider myself different.
Of course.
So there was no frustration, because what would have frustration done? Frustration would have changed nothing. It doesn't change my condition if I'm angry against it. It doesn't change anything. It is with me,
Yeah.
at least in this life, and it will be with me. So getting angry about it and being frustrated about it doesn't change anything. It's a waste of time. So my reflection was always, okay, what is the best that I can do with what I have? I have that established fact, can't change it.
Yes.
So let's take it and let's not cry about it, but let's go to the highest level. What can I do to turn all of this into something good?
What would the 5-year-old Sascha say to you?
Probably that very probably that he's proud of me.
Yeah.
Because he would have said, I have no idea how you made it through all of this. Because once my father died when I was 16 of a heart attack, I was alone with my mother. And it was terror, psychoterror. So when the cell phones came along, I got hundreds of messages per day from her.
Yeah.
It would always change. It would be, you're the best son on the planet. No, I hate
Wow.
you. No, I hate you. No, you're the best. No, and then many words I don't want to pronounce here. I prefer you wouldn't be alive. No, you're the best that could happen to me. To threatening me over life to kill herself hundreds of times. Because in Europe, it's different in the American system, but to quickly explain the European system, my mother had taken out a health insurance for an unborn child. So when I was born, the insurance couldn't kick me out and had to cover everything that I could have on paper. And on paper, that's very, very, very long. In fact, not so much, but on paper, there could be a lot. So the insurance was stuck with me, but in Europe, no other health insurance would cover me for what I have.
Yeah.
And so her threat always was, listen, you do anything against me, you say anything against me, you say how I really am, I'm going to cancel your health insurance and or kill myself. And I grew up with this, and constantly changing person every single day.
Oh my goodness.
So you learn this over time, how to deal with it. And
this isn't fiction. This is
no, that is real life.
real life.
It was real life, plus my conditions, plus the bullying.
Yeah. Look at you now.
And she did it up doing what she said she would do, but many, many years later when I was 34, because she had made up some crazy story in her mind, and that was some form of punishment against me that I'm not taking as punishment, because it was completely ludicrous, the story that she had made up in her mind. But again, it's all a matter of mindset, and it's a matter of can-do attitude and how. The question is not I can't. The question is how can you? How can I?
Did you have to demand excellence of yourself to a degree that perhaps another individual wouldn't have demanded excellence?
Yes, I always have done that, because I've known that if you look in terms of where I started way behind.
Right.
Where I should have been in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to make all of this up and then some.
Yeah.
So I had to always hold myself to a certain degree of accountability standards, but also without actually, when I wouldn't reach my expectations, it was hard, but it wasn't the end of the world.
Okay.
Because I also know life happens, and sometimes you're being redirected, and sometimes things happen for your greatest good, even if you don't appreciate them in the moment.
I was just thinking that you had to probably escape a more heavier gravitational pull, black hole, than perhaps others.
I think I know that there are many people going through far worse than what I went through.
Yeah.
And I know also there are many people, luckily, who have it way better than I do. But again, it's about not comparing. It is your story. Because again, if you start complaining, if you start comparing, you're going to start mostly starting to complain, because again, that's our brain.
Yes.
You're going to complain about how you don't have it as good as all the others, instead of being grateful about how you have it better than many, 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 many other people. And then when I was young, again, self-aware, I was always aware that there were a lot more people behind me in terms of the poor population than in front of me. And I always had a sense of gratitude for that. And
There's that word.
and a sense of not complaining about things.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if I complained a little bit, but then getting it together and, okay, becoming pragmatic again and say, what are we going to do about this? That's always the question I ask. Great. Let's give her a moment to complain. Give ourselves some time to complain. Give ourselves some time to cry about things. But then what are you going to do about it? Because failure isn't sitting down. Failure isn't falling. Failure isn't lying down. Failure isn't crying. Failure isn't complaining. Failure is about staying down. What are you going to do to get back up?
I think a lot of kids, especially in the spectrum of, I would say, that no fault of their own, have these conditions like autism and cancer. I mean, I think what your messaging speaks to the child and to the parent who perhaps don't maybe think that there's a way out. There's always a way out.
There's always a way out, and I ask parents of children who are different, who are going through something,
Yeah.
do not speak limitation upon them. It's not because you see limitations or the doctors told you there are going to be limitations, that there necessarily will be. Speak power over them, speak empowerment over them, speak victory over them, speak all the good things over them, because our mind, it is really mind over matter. And I've studied this then in my life, quantum physics and many other areas. I mean, I read hundreds of books in my life to understand my condition, but also how the nature of the world and of reality. And our minds are really, really that powerful, and our emotions are really that powerful. We are
What controls what? The mind controls the heart, or the heart controls the mind?
Well, scientifically, the Heart Math Institute has found out that, and others as well have found out that our heart centers are 5,000 times stronger magnetically than our brains. So it's really our emotions that control everything. And also, if you then believe in the law of attraction, call it what you want, but it's actually rooted in quantum physics.
Yes.
And without having to read quantum physics books, they'll save you that, but it's rooted in quantum physics and on science. It is actually pulling likeness onto us. So if you're positive and you're grateful and you have a positive outlook, you get more of that stuff. And if the opposite is also true, you'll get more of that stuff. So you have a lot to help yourself, really. And again, nobody asks you, there's this thought that you always have to be positive. No, that's impossible as a human. You're not a robot. But give yourself some time to, as I said, complain, cry, rant if you have to, but define it in time.
Right.
And then try and get out of it.
Well, I think a lot of complaining and ranting today in 2025 has to do with AI, artificial intelligence, and how that is perhaps taking fear amongst employers, especially, that AI is replacing jobs.
I think AI, well, I have a little bit of a different point of view there.
Okay.
AI cannot replace you. You are you. AI will always be, even if it becomes very intelligent, a machine. But nobody can replace you. It will never be you. It will never be like somebody else. So I see AI as a brilliant tool as amplification. As it can never replace you, but you can use it. You can use it to amplify you. Because you're not your job. You're you. A job is an activity that you're doing.
A job provides security for your family and the things that you wish in life.
Is that the only way to provide security for your family, a job? Or is it just a 9 to 5? And if you think about larger, there are many things you can do in entrepreneurship, creation, creativity, where AI can help you to amplify yourself, because there's only going to be you who's going to have that specific set of ideas in that specific way. And I believe AI these days can, if you learn agentic AI, there are cheap courses out there to learn this, you can actually build very large businesses solely by yourself in your bedroom with AI. And so to think
many people are not entrepreneurial. They're followers, as you mentioned earlier.
But they still have skills.
Sure.
And they're still unique. And if they can find out who they really are, not what the system tells them are, not what the job tells them they're put in this box instead of another box, but if they find out who they really are, they can still use it to amplify themselves. And then they have to come to a point where they have to surround themselves with the right people who don't necessarily have the skills that they have. Even the leaders, they have to surround themselves with people who have the skills that they don't have.
Taking a step back, you mentioned AI helps amplify you.
Amplify you.
I already know myself. So what value add is AI bringing that I already know about myself?
AI can help you amplify your voice. It can amplify your voice. It can act for you as you can ask it to ask it to act as an expert in marketing.
Well, I get pissed off at ChatGPT when I don't get the right answers I'm looking for.
Well, then you have to do more self-reflection, more meditation, and work on yourself so that you can actually not waste your time getting upset with a machine that just reflecting things back to you, and learn better prompting, but also learn better emotional control so that you can actually learn to use this tool.
But I think
right thing.
part
It's
of
like-
it, yeah, and I don't know, I somewhat tend to disagree, maybe not disagree, but when we had our pre-planning call, it's the evolutions of, the horse carriage to the car.
Yes.
And, there's that revolution. AI is one of them right now that we're experiencing. But the previous revolutions, in my opinion, didn't replace jobs. They didn't replace that security.
New jobs will be created. As you know, I mean, when we went from carriages to cars, or from typewriters to computers, old jobs were replaced by new jobs. So that's also your empowerment. You can have a victim mentality and say, I really profoundly, to not use other words, to profoundly dislike these cars. They're still going to come. Or you can say, how can I use my skills? How can I even use AI to amplify my skills or to train myself in a different way so that I now am fit for this new era of time that were cars at a certain times, or computer chips and computers at a new other time, or the internet in the early 2000s.
Right.
Or you can say this is the most horrible thing on the planet and keep on complaining, but that's the sure way to be left behind.
I mean, it looks like this is universal in terms of what they have to teach in schools.
Absolutely.
Because then it becomes a socioeconomic thing where I have a computer, I have AI, I can do well, but the person that perhaps has limited means, right, to have these resources available to them to help them. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yes, but there is something very simple.
What's that?
Ask AI to teach you anything you want, and it will.
And that can be done at the local library. That's free.
That can be done in the local library. That can be done on your cell phone. Because AI will say, ask AI, whether it's GPT or Claude, whatever you prefer, whichever uses more scientific means. Maybe I like, for the scientific side, I like Claude a little bit better. For the conversational side, I prefer GPT, but it's solely personal.
Yeah.
But so many people says, I don't know. Well, ask AI, and it will happily teach you. And
well, again, it's the fear, right?
It's the fear, and the fear actually prevents you. It stucks you in time, and it prevents you. It freezes you, and it prevents you from actually making the right choices, because you freeze your mind, you freeze your brain, and your brain doesn't do anything because, again, it's frozen. So if you go back to cave women and
I thought
cavemen,
that's what scrolling on social media does at night.
That's it. But that's hypnotizing, and that will actually shorten your attention span.
Sure.
Because now these videos are a couple of seconds long, and then you get bored and you want to move on to something else.
Yep.
Now think about reading a 500-page book, or reading a 500-page equivalent AI course teaching you about something. Because if you ask AI to act as a marketing expert and to teach you about marketing, it will. It can also replace these skills for you. But it's really, that's why I go back. It's a tool, and it can empower you if you don't act like a victim and don't let it overrun you, but also also stop complaining about it, because it will happen either way. It will happen either way. You can't stop it.
Right.
Evolution will happen. And I mean, now we see the evolution of technology faster and faster and faster, because I remember having had my first cell phone, like a brick, when I was 19.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not so long ago. That was 30 years ago. So I suppose that if we're to live long enough, we'll see the next evolution of AI or technology will come afterwards. Maybe it's robots. But again, these will act as helpers. So you can actually use your skills, amplify your skills, and then learn something that makes you fit to be in the new, either be an entrepreneur, an artist, or whatever you always wanted to be.
Right.
Or if you still want to be an employee, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, retrain yourself to fit into the new world that you can't stop anyways.
I guess the point is having an open mind.
Having an open mind. And knowing that no complaining in the world will change anything. It's actually being proactive that will change something. because it won't stop life from happening. It won't stop times from changing. It won't stop technology from evolving.
Right.
That's us. When we've completely developed AI, some brilliant minds will see what is next, what comes after that.
Right.
We will never stop because this is how we're wired. We're always wired to more, further, better. So, but we can learn to go with the time instead of declaring this is the worst thing ever. Maybe this is the best thing ever. If you turn it around and say, how can this serve me instead of it controlling you?
Yeah, it's that unstoppable inner spirit that you have, that transformative spirit as you consult and coach CEOs on.
Absolutely. And every human
What do
being.
they say, out of curiosity? I mean, you don't have to give names, but when they see you, when they talk to you, what is some of the things that they share after they've listened to?
Well, I work with them. I work with entrepreneurs. I also work with everyday people, but those who really, really want to. I work with people in the sports world as well. But the overwhelming message after you're so inspiring is I never knew that I could actually shift my thinking in a way that it would take care of many, many of the problems that I thought I had.
Right.
And now I actually realize that I don't have. So I just, for instance, one story, in a month, I shifted somebody from saying everything is bad, that's tough, that's bad, to shifting saying, that's great, that's good. And I just got a feedback saying my life could become so much better in a month. Because it shifted the entire outlook.
Yeah.
Does it take everything away that's bad? No, but it's your capacity to act towards it. You have two choices: react or act.
Right.
You can react again. Let's go back to AI. You can react to it, or you can say, "This is what it is."
Yep.
Like I did with my condition. I'm not changing it. It's not going to go away. What am I going to do to take this and move into the new world, and move into the next phase of my life, and into the next phase of my creation? Hey, maybe I'm actually a really good artist, and I just never knew how to go about it because I'm bad at sales, I'm bad at marketing, I'm bad at all those things. But now I can ask AI to act as a sales agent, to act as marketing, to act as whatever, and then I just follow the prompt, and then I take these steps and these actions. So it really acts as some sort of a feedback for you.
What about, and final question, and this has been amazing, citizens, the ability for AI to be creative as opposed to just gathering the wealth of knowledge and information in the known internet universe. How could AI help you become more creative, to help you explore your potential that you may not have known?
A very simple answer is put exactly what you just said into the AI. Help me with this. Because again, it's an amplifier, it's a tool. It's not doing anything for you unless you ask it.
Oh, I have to do that.
So it's exactly as that. Don't overcomplicate the things, just ask AI. And if you don't want the companies to train on your whatever you shared with the AI, you just go into settings, and many of those you can disable somewhere the toggle and say, I don't want this to be used as training, for training purposes, for the actual model.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So if you're concerned about privacy or their things, so you can just turn it off, because I mean, I'm sure they have enough data to train their models on that they don't need your particular chat. But ask this, how, and it will give you some ideas. And what I always like to do with AI is ask it to go deeper. That might be my academic mind after having got my 2 bachelors and my master's degree, and having gone to the best business school on the planet twice. It's like I like to ask questions. So I always ask it, go deeper, and tell me more.
I think that's a great way to end this segment, just because go deeper is more reflection, more inner spirit, and that leads to gratitude.
Correct. And the tell me more is the open mind. And that's how I've always lived my life, the going deeper in the understanding and tell me more.
Brilliant.
About the world. It's because, we don't know everything. We will never know everything. Even if you have a gazillion papers, you will never know of the highest profile schools. They're great, but you will never know everything. So the tell me more is an open mindset. And as you said, go deeper is the self-reflective and about you. And I think these two are essential to thrive in any world, whether it was back when horse carriages went away to cars, or whether it's in this new area now going into AI. self-reflection and an open mind and the growth mindset.
It's that consistency. Sascha, thank you so much. I mean,
Thank
for
you.
the citizens, this has been amazing. Just really liked what Sascha had mentioned about the heart leading the mind and what that does. And certainly not to be fearful of AI, which Sascha eloquently states. And so if you've liked this episode, if you liked the reel, we'd love to hear from you, see what resonated with you. More importantly, though, if there is a person that perhaps is going through a health, an emotional, or mental struggle, Sascha's living proof, citizens, that it can be done. Sascha, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, audience.